Hi everyone, this is Teacher Jonathan once again, and I'd like to welcome you all in our today's virtual presentation about cardiovascular system. Let's get started. So the cardiovascular system are the organ system that distributes blood to all parts of the body. One of the most complex systems of the body. Its function is to transport for transportation using blood as the transport vehicle. This system carries oxygen, it carries nutrients, cell waste, hormones, and other substances vital for body homeostasis to and from the cell. So homeostasis means maintaining the balance in our body. The force to move blood around the body is provided by the pumping heart and blood pressure. So we will talk about the blood and the pumping of the heart first in this series. So this is a very simple anatomy of the heart. Okay, so let's name some major parts of the heart. I will start with the atria. Okay, so this is the right atrium, left atrium, right ventricle, left ventricle. It's just because the heart is facing you. So this part here are the right and these are the left. Okay. There are other parts as well. There are vena cava. Okay, this is superior vena cava. This is the inferior vena cava. All the blood gathers around here in the right atrium. What type of blood? These are all deoxygenated blood. That means poor oxygen blood. On the left are rich oxygen blood, so we call it oxygenated blood. Okay, there are valves as well. This is the tricuspid valve. This valve right here prevents the backflow of the blood from right ventricle going up to the right atrium. So it ensures the flow, one-way flow, is supposed to be going this way and out this way. Okay, the blood is not supposed to be flowing back. When I say flowing back, it doesn't flow from the right ventricle going back to the right atrium because that's dangerous. Okay, that's to ensure one-way flow. Going here and going out. Okay, and that's the function of the tricuspid valve. The mitral valve here do the same. It prevents the backflow of the blood from left ventricles going back to the left atrium. So it ensures one-way flow as well. From here going to the body. All right. So those are the functions of the blood, the valves. There's another one right here. We call this the semi-lunar valve, or sometimes we call it pulmonary valve. Okay, it ensures the backflow of the blood from pulmonary artery going back to the right ventricle. All right. So those are the heart anatomy, and you will notice that this part right here is thicker than the layers of the atria. There's a reason for that. I will tell you later. Okay? The human heart is approximately the size of your fist. This is your fist. Okay? That's the size of your heart. And weighs less than a pound. It is enclosed within the inferior mediastinum and the medial cavity of the thorax and flanked on each side by the lungs. In this picture, you will see arrows, right? And you will notice there's a blue blood and then there's a red blood. Okay, so I will explain this picture first. It's a blue blood. I've made mention a while ago about the oxygenated blood. The oxygenated means oxygen poor blood, and it represents the blue color right here. So it gathers around the right ventricle, right atrium here, and then goes back to the, no, not goes back. It goes down to the right ventricle. Okay, and then from the right ventricle is going to the lungs. So that's the look at the arrow. Let's follow the arrow here. Okay, so it gathers all here in the right atrium and then going down to the right ventricle. Right atrium, right ventricle. RA, RV. Okay, and then going to pulmonary artery. So that means this type of blood will go to the lungs, okay, because this blood carries carbon dioxide, and the lungs will dispose it in the environment as we exhale. Now, let's take a look at the left side. The left side here. So when the lungs or when the blood collects all the oxygen from the lungs, it will go back to the heart. Okay, to the left atrium. So this is from the left atrium going down to the left ventricle. All right, look at the arrow. The same here as well. So this will go here. This arrow will go here. And then this arrow will go here. It's all in the left atrium. From the left atrium, it will come down to the left ventricles and then to the aorta going to the body. All right. Again, the red is oxygen-rich blood. Blue is oxygen-poor blood. Let's continue. This is the apex right here. And I mentioned a while ago that this here is thicker. The reason being is that this here pumps blood throughout the body. It has to be forcefully and powerfully delivering the blood or the oxygen throughout the body. Now let's talk about the three layers. Actually, the heart, our heart has three layers. Okay, we have epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. So this is the heart, right? This is the heart, and if we take a little piece of that, cut a little piece, it's gonna look like this if we enlarge. There are three layers. The epicardium is this part, this layer. Myocardium is the thick or the middle layer. Endocardium is this one. Okay, so there's the three layers of the heart. Now, there are two important chambers, okay, because the heart has four hollow chambers, two atria, and then two ventricles. Okay, so these are the two atria, the receiving chambers, right atrium, left atrium, and then there's two ventricles, the right ventricles and the left ventricles. Okay, so if you put your hands like this, so if we put our hands like this, okay, I'm gonna open this hand, all right, and I will say love them. As I say love, I will close it, and I will open this one. All right. Once again, love them, love them. When I say love, okay, I will close the top hand and opens up this one. Let's do it again. Love them, love them. Love, the love sound actually is the pumping of the ventricles. All right, the pumping of the ventricles, the left and the right ventricles. So that means if if the right ventricle's pumped, it will go to the lungs. If the left, I'm confused now. When the right ventricle pumps, it will go, the blood will go to the lungs, and the left will go to the body. Okay. Love is a powerful pumping. Love dub, love dub, love dub. The dub sound is the reloading of the blood going to the ventricles. All right, let's do it again. Love dub, love dub, love dub.
The normal heart has two sides, the right side and the left side, and four chambers, the top receiving chambers, or atrium, and the lower chambers, which are thick-walled pumping chambers, called ventricles. Red blood cell will come from either the superior vena cava or the inferior vena cava and enter into the right atrium. Blood then flows across the tricuspid valve to the right ventricle. The right ventricle then squeezes and ejects that blood cell into a vessel called the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery splits into two vessels, each going to the lungs. As that red blood cell makes its way through the lung, it returns through the pulmonary veins to the left atrium. That blood is now oxygenated. It's picked up oxygen, then goes across the mitral valve into the left ventricle, which does most of the work in terms of delivery of blood flow to the body. That blood cell is now ejected into the aorta to some organ or muscle or skin in the human body.
I will open this hand, and I will say love, 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 and I will say dub, 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 and I put this together, it's gonna look like this. Love dub, love dub, love dub. The love sound actually is the pumping of the ventricles. Okay, the love. Dub sounds is the pumping of the atria. Okay, so love dub, love dub, love dub. When the love is pumping, okay, the right the right chamber of the heart carries the oxygenated blood will go to the lungs, and the oxygen-rich blood will go to every part of the body. So this is the love, love. The dub sound is the reloading of the blood. Okay, so there you go.
The normal heart has two sides, the right side and the left side, and four chambers, the top receiving chambers, or atrium, and the lower chambers, which are thick-walled pumping chambers, called ventricles. Red blood cell will come from either the superior vena cava or the inferior vena cava and enter into the right atrium. Blood then flows across the tricuspid valve to the right ventricle. The right ventricle then squeezes and ejects that blood cell into a vessel called the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery splits into two vessels, each going to the lungs. As that red blood cell makes its way through the lung, it returns through the pulmonary veins to the left atrium. That blood is now oxygenated. It's picked up oxygen, then goes across the mitral valve into the left ventricle, which does most of the work in terms of delivery of blood flow to the body. That blood cell is now ejected into the aorta to some organ or muscle or skin.
I would like to stress this one. The ventricles are thick-walled, discharging thick chambers.
The human heart has four chambers. The right atrium, the left atrium, the right ventricle, and the left ventricle. There are four valves in the heart. These valves are tricuspid valve, mitral valve, aortic valve, pulmonic valve. These valves are one-way valves. Now, you have seen the structure of the heart. Let us find out how it works. The blood becomes oxygen-rich by absorbing oxygen in the lungs. The function of the heart starts when oxygenated blood is carried from the lungs to the left atrium of the heart by means of the pulmonary veins. The left atrium relaxes. This blood is pumped into the heart. When the left atrium contracts, the left ventricle relaxes simultaneously. The left atrium pushes the blood into the left ventricle through the one-way valve. When the left ventricle contracts, the blood is pumped into the aorta, which carries oxygenated blood to the different parts of the body except the lungs. Oxygenated blood reaches the different parts of the body through the blood vessels called the arteries. The arteries gets branched into capillaries, which then reaches to the different organs of the body. The blood then becomes deoxygenated, and the blood capillaries gets mixed and form thicker blood vessels called the veins. The veins carry deoxygenated blood to the heart. The blood vessels that carry deoxygenated blood to heart are known as the vena cava. The deoxygenated blood from different parts of body enters the upper right chamber of the heart, which is called the right atrium. The right atrium gets contracted, allowing the blood to flow into the right ventricle, which contracts with the expansion of the right atrium through the one-way valve. The right ventricle then contracts, pushing the blood into the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery carries the deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. The lungs oxygenate the blood by exchanging of gases and flows back into the heart through the pulmonary vein, and starts the circulatory cycle all over again.
I hope you find this very helpful. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in our future videos. Bye.